Get off the track and into the streets. Camden Sports Productions and Nairo Awards are proud to present At the Post Live, Serling on Saratoga, a weekly behind-the-scenes discussion about the Saratoga horse racing season hosted by nationally recognized racing expert and analyst Andy Serling. Tonight's show is also brought to you in part by Timeform US and Capital OTB. Now, live from the Parting Glass Pub in downtown Saratoga, here's Andy Serling.
Thanks for coming, everybody. At the Post Live. It's week 2 here in Saratoga. Please, everybody could join us down at the parking glass. I'm sorry, we've got a great show tonight. I've got Mark Casse joining me on stage here. Mark, if you're not familiar with him, has been training for a while, actually, and he came back to Saratoga. You were not in Saratoga last year, is that true?
That's true. We were at Del Mar.
You were at Del Mar. Now, how many years have you been coming to Saratoga?
Well, let's see. I'm 8. I came here when I was 8 years old, so 44?
44 years. He's actually older than me. He's actually not older than me. He's just been coming here longer than I have. Your father was in racing a lot. Your father is still, he's sort of the king of Ocala. Is that true?
Yeah, he's still there. He was the president of OBS for years and years, and he watches every race still.
I met your dad when I was about 12 or 13 years old, actually, in Saratoga, and remember him, and he's sort of a legend, actually, in racing. And so, were you coming here in the 70s even with him all the time?
For sure. I was here, some of my fondest moments, my dad used to sell horses at the Fasig-Tipton yearling sale, and we'd bring a camper and sleep in the Fasig-Tipton parking lot, and I would walk to the races, and then we'd walk at night and wait for the racing for him, and wasn't any better than that.
Waiting downtown at Joe Dool's on Broadway?
Yep.
For those of you who don't remember, back in those days, the racing form didn't come out until about 9:30, and everyone would wait down by Joe Dool's newsstand, which was on Broadway across from where the Rip Van Dam and the Adelphi are. And it was, I used to go there as a kid. I wish you could get in a time machine and go back there now. It was a great scene.
It used to be, for me, the worst day was Sunday, because we didn't have a racing form on Sunday a long time ago, and I was like...
Yeah, it was. I remember when I would go to Keeneland in the spring, and there was no racing on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if I didn't go to River Downs, I had to sit around in Lexington until there was nothing to do until the form came out on Tuesday. It was like the longest 2 days ever.
I was right with you there.
People don't know how good they have it now, actually. Now, you said you were at Del Mar last summer. You don't have many horses out there. Now, you were talking to me beforehand. Just talk about why you've come back to Saratoga and you don't have a big presence at Del Mar this year.
Well, a lot of it has to do with... I came to Saratoga for a couple reasons, but one is obviously the Breeders' Cup's in the East this year, and last year we went to Del Mar because we took some horses out that we thought had Breeders' Cup potential, and this year we're back. Came here a lot. We have a lot of young horses, and you have to get them started, and this is a good place to get a lot of young horses. They run a lot of 2-year-old races, and so that's why we're here. They're not easy to win, but it's a good place to get started.
Well, you've got to deal with the Todd Pletcher factor, basically, the dirt races, and Todd is so dominant in there. In some ways, it's hard to win, but winning first time out is sometimes overrated, wouldn't you say? It's nice to win.
It's always nice to win. Honestly, when I have a first-time starter win, it's usually... it's not by design. Obviously, we always like to win, but I always tell my riders I would rather be a closing fourth than a dying third, and I just like them to learn to rally and come with a run. It's a little more difficult here. The kickback here, the dirt, it's tougher to get a young horse to run into this dirt.
Well, you've done a lot of racing on synthetics. You spent a lot of time up at Woodbine. You've had a string there, and you also Del Mar obviously last year. What are your thoughts about dirt racing versus synthetic racing? Obviously, synthetic racing is somewhat a bit on the way out, at least in this country.
I know a lot of people aren't going to like it, but I still do like synthetic. I think on a good day they're pretty equal. On a bad day, bad weather day, the synthetics, superior. You train differently. For me, I'm not a guy that likes to win a race in the first quarter of a mile. And dirt is a little bit more like that. I like to have my horses come from out of it and come with the run. Always trying to to develop a horse for later on. And I'm quite proud. Right now we have one of the best turf fillies in North America, and we have one of the best older horses in North America. So I'm quite proud of that.
Well, I'm talking about one of the best older horses in North America. It's Noble Bird he's talking about. Noble Bird is one of the big players in the Whitney, which is shaping up to be just a tremendous race here, and that's a week from Saturday. And you were talking about bringing your horse along slowly. He is a horse that you brought along slowly, but he seems to be peaking and turning into clearly one of the best dirt horses in the country.
As a 2-year-old, Andy, I told Mr. Oxley that I said, this is our Derby horse. This is a serious horse. And he just had a little of this and a little of that happen, and I kept taking him home and giving him a little time off. And so when everybody looks and they say, well, he's gotten good, where did it come from? I agree, he's gotten good now at 4, but he had it all along. It's just taken him a while.
Well, I mean, the point being that had you maybe pushed him early, he might not be the horse that he is today.
I'd like to think that, yes.
Well, it's also funny because we were talking about, and that Whitney is coming up, a super, super tough race. And listen, Whitney is, in a lot of ways, been the top handicap, at least route in this country outside the Breeders' Cup for a while now. Now, we were talking about his meet. I'm getting killed the first few days, and it's been rough for you as well. But Tepin, who I've as wrong about a horse as I could be and not liking any of her races.
I was going to mention that.
I've embarrassed myself in many ways, more so than I have with Tepin. One of your owners is mad at me. He keeps thinking I'm saying things I didn't.
He told me what you said.
Well,
and I don't know if you read my comment afterwards, but that was for you.
What did you say? I want to know.
They said, do you have any comments after the race? I said, yes, she can go a mile and an eighth.
Well, what I actually said, because you might know this about owners, they occasionally hear things that weren't really said. What
I didn't hear it.
What I said was I've been completely wrong about her so far. I didn't like her at all in Just a Game. And I said I think at this point the question becomes whether or not she's going to be as effective in a mile and an eighth. I didn't like her at all. She was. She ran probably better in this race than she ran the Just a Game, I would say. It's a tough pace in there, and she was right on it.
She was. What got her more than anything was probably, I think Bill Mott's filly ranging up outside of her, going down the backside, probably cost us the race because she got a little tough. And when she gets a little tough, she doesn't breathe as good as she should. And Julian said that he said she struggled with her air for about 3/8 of a mile. So if she ran that good and struggled with her air for 3/8 of a mile, that tells you something.
Now, are you thinking of going to Beverly D with her at a mile and 3/16?
No, we're probably going to stay here.
In Spa?
Yes.
Now, the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland this year, I believe the Breeders' Cup filly in Meritor is a mile and 3/16. Isn't it shorter this year than normal?
I believe you're correct. I'm not sure.
I would assume that's the goal with
yes.
her.
Obviously.
So the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland, how's that going to be?
You know what? I think it's going to be great. Where they're going to put everybody, I'm not sure. I think the Europeans obviously are going to enjoy the turf course, and it's going to be a little cooler. And but I think that Keeneland always does first class.
It's a great place. I worry about the crowds a little bit. I worry about the size more than anything else. So I love Keeneland. It's a great place. It just feels like the weather also. It's not one of the greatest places to be at if it's a chilly day or raining or snowing.
You're right.
It's been known to snow there from time to time. You're talking about your dad and the sales and bringing horses up to sell the sales. You're very active, obviously. You buy a lot of horses. I see, obviously, yearlings, but also the 2-year-old sales. Can you talk a little about the difference between buying yearlings and buying 2-year-olds, and if you think one is better than another one, or it's apples and oranges, sort of?
Usually during the yearling sales, I think it's better to buy yearlings. During the 2-year-old sales, I usually think it's better to buy 2-year-olds. It's a big difference. You buy an entirely different type of horse. When you're buying the 2-year-olds, you'll give a little bit more on their confirmation because they've proven that they can get to this point and they're dealing with it. And you also go for a little less pedigree. You're looking more at the performance, and so that makes it a lot different, yes, for sure.
Now, have you also been on the other side where you've been selling at the sale some, as your father did a great deal?
Oh, sure. For years, I stopped training for a long time, went with Harry Van Gurion, Mockingbird Farm, sold horses for him, and in fact, I still every now and then will sell one or two horses. And in fact, I sold My Conquistador. That was a story in itself. We owned her, and she was at the 2-year-old sale, and Ernie Semersky was getting into Conquest Stables was getting into the game, and we had dinner, and he said, I want to buy the fastest filly at the sale, and I said, you can't. And he said, well, why not? And I said, because I own her, and you're not going to buy her. And he says, well, why can't I buy her? And I said, because I'm not going to let you buy one of the horses that we own. And he said, well, watch me. So he bought her, and she ended up, she's a Grade 1 winner. And
won the Alcibiades.
Yeah, she won the Alcibiades. She's probably, if you really look, nobody's ever really said anything to me, but she only made 6 starts in her life, only in graded stakes. She broke her maiden in a Grade 2 against Colts. She came back and ran. She won the Alcibiades at Grade 1, and she ran 60 feet farther than everybody else in the Breeders' Cup, and got beat 3 lengths, I think. So she's quite a horse.
Didn't she draw a number? I mean, she had post 14 in the Breeders' Cup. Didn't she get a number of outside posts in her races? Just the Breeders' Cup.
Kind of like we're doing right now at Saratoga. I don't know, but yes.
Right. I keep telling people that all the picks I'm making are getting unlucky, too. You can only do that for so long, Mark. Eventually, we've got to produce. Fortunately, we've got 34 days left.
Okay.
You got a lot of 2-year-olds?
We do. We have a lot of 2-year-olds. We'll see. We think we have some good ones.
You've got a lot of different owners, obviously putting a lot in the game. Do you find you get into situations where you may have to run one against another?
No, we do it all the time. Yeah.
And is that ever difficult in dealing with the owners in those, or do they understand?
It can be difficult sometimes.
I suppose if you win with one and they're second, maybe they get annoyed. Or if they're sixth and you win, they're annoyed. So.
Last year we ran 1-2 in a race, and the second horse claimed foul on the winner. That was quite interesting, and they took him down. I just told I had nothing to do with it, And I can tell you, no matter what, I would never sacrifice one horse for the other. In fact, I've had riders come in and say, do you want me? I said, no, you ride your horses.
It's a difficult situation in a lot of ways.
But we have a lot of horses, and we run in a lot of places, and it's going to happen. And I think maybe 20 years ago that would have been more difficult, but it happens every day now.
Yeah, I think people have gotten more used to it. Well, Mark, we appreciate you a great deal, you coming up and joining us here, and hopefully the next 34 days to meet, you'll win some of those photos that have been lost.
Thank you.
Good luck in the Whitney.
Thank you.
Trainer Mark Casse, we appreciate Mark joining us. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay with us as we come right back. At the Post Live is brought to you by Capital OTB. Watch, wager, and win with Capital OTB.